mean, one of the early signs of distress in the property market once we had those lockdowns was this rapid increase in rental listings on realestate.com.au. So it was partly driven by many Airbnb properties moving to long-term rentals. There was a lot of people moving back home, a lot of students moving back home with families. We did see a big increase in activity on flatmates, so showing that a lot of people were looking to share accommodation. We are starting to see rental listings drop, so that is, it's obviously not great news for a listing portal, but it is good news for the market. It does show that a lot of those excess rental listings are being taken up. We are seeing high levels of search activity as well on our rent side, on our buy side as well, which is positive, but also on our rental side. So it's only early. I mean, we are still seeing quite significant declines in rental levels in some locations, but it does show that now the economy is starting to open up again. It is looking far better for renters.
Yeah, price point when people are purchasing or selling is obviously very, very important. What do people look for in cheaper property?
Yeah, we are seeing quite a lot of activity on site for established property. I've got an article coming out next week in Mansions magazine looking at luxury properties. So this week I took a bit of a look at cheaper properties, and not surprisingly they're quite different from luxury, a lot smaller, more likely to be an apartment. Some of the things are quite similar across the board. We do find things like air conditioning are very popular across all price points. Also, built-in robes, those sorts of things are quite significant. But under $400,000, it is a smaller home. It's more likely an apartment, and it's also more likely to have only one bathroom and one car park.
People are getting all sorts of bargains around commercial property at the moment.
Yeah, we're not seeing signs of distress in commercial property as yet. We are starting to see some trouble with leasing, particularly for office leasing and also for shopping centres as well. So there will be quite a significant hit on rents, and we don't know the full extent of that at the moment. Obviously, for the office market, people still aren't back in the office, so there will be some significant changes made to the rental levels that a lot of landlords can receive. We've been taking a look at some very cheap properties that are being sold at the moment on Real Commercial. Most of it is office suites, a lot of storage units, a lot of development sites in regional areas, but the price points are very cheap. I mean, you can get things for around $35,000, which, you know, when you think of commercial property, you always think of very, very expensive, but there are some very cheap options out there.
What are some of the most in-demand suburbs? I know we're a big country.
Yeah, for most demand suburbs at the moment, we are seeing a very strong shift to premium suburbs around Australia. So I think really that flight to quality that happens in markets when they're a little bit troubled. So places like Albert Park are doing very well in Melbourne, Turac's doing really well, Paddington, Bronte in New South Wales are seeing really high demand. Again, looking at cheaper price points, we're seeing much more positivity in places like Adelaide. So Rosewater in Adelaide is the most in demand, under $400,000. So there's a real disconnect at the moment. Across the board, it really is premium property, but at some of those cheaper price points, we are seeing quite a lot of activity. And
finally, the government's propping up a lot of people right at the moment, including the building industry.
Yeah, we are expecting some announcement from Josh Frydenberg at some stage over the next week around what's going to be provided to the construction sector. So when we have a look at the property at the market at the moment, established housing seems to be doing okay, but it will be the new development sector that will be is forecast to struggle the most over the next couple of years. Some of the things being put forward include $50,000 grants for new homes. We are seeing some call for some tax breaks for certain investors, foreign investors in particular. We really haven't seen much activity from them for quite some time, partly driven by a less favourable tax treatment. Even potentially investors may get a little bit better tax incentives. At the moment, we don't exactly know what will be proposed, but it is expected to be quite significant.